I'll call to order this regular meeting of the Ellsworth City Council, Monday, September 21st, 2020. All councilors are present. And first item of business is Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council Miller.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to have item 12, public hearing and action on authorizing the city manager to enter into a 20-year bill credit agreement under the Maine Commercial and Institutional Customer Net Energy Billing Tariff Rate Credit Program, which will enable the city to purchase bill credits associated with the generation of solar power from a distributed generation solar project located in the city of Ellsworth for purposes of offsetting and lowering the cost of electricity for the city of Ellsworth and its component units, to be removed from the agenda due to ongoing contract negotiations.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Item 12 is removed from the agenda. Item 3, rules of order. So I want to make one announcement that we have returned the meetings now, that they are now open to the public. The room is set up with the number of seating that we can have in the room at any given point, but we still invite the public to attend, and if there are more people than can be in the room at any one point in time, we'll shuffle people in and out depending on the agenda and where you want to make comment. But also recognizing that we're still in a situation with COVID and there are individuals in the community that may not feel comfortable coming in to provide comment. I will still accept your feedback via email at dhamilton@ellsworthmaine.gov, and we'll present that as written. When you do send those in, please state your name and your address so that I can read that. So it will be both an open meeting in person, but we'll also continue to take public comments during the meeting via email. The rules of order, we follow Robert's Rules of Order and any other rules that we establish at the organizational meeting. I do want to go back to last meeting where we had a voting question arise, and that voting question was whether or not a council member can choose to not vote when there is not a conflict. Under Robert's rules, if there is a conflict of interest, then that's generally defined as a financial or personal interest on the matter, then a council member would abstain from voting in order to preserve the integrity of the vote. But then the question came up that if you don't have a conflict of interest, can you choose not to cast a vote? And during the meeting, when that question came up, it's, as my role in the chair, it's my responsibility to manage that. I reviewed the information that I could and concluded that Robert's Rules does in fact allow for a member to choose not to vote. I then, following that meeting, I have reached out to our council to make sure that my interpretation was correct, because obviously it's an important part of the process and we want to be following the rules that are established. And in that outreach, did find that yes, a member can choose not to vote. It's not the preferred or the ideal situation, and there's a difference between what is allowed by the voting rules and what is really intended by the membership. So from a Robert's Rules of Order procedural perspective, a member can choose not to vote. When a member chooses not to vote, it effectively serves as a no vote, because the membership still needs to have a majority vote for an issue to pass, and that majority includes the member who has chosen not to vote. So it effectively then comes in as a no vote. Now, the provisions of, when I talk about the rules that we adopt during the organizational meeting, the council is able to adopt rules that the council wants to follow in addition to Robert's Rules. And there's always that opportunity that happens at the annual organizational meeting, and may be something that is considered going forward, and something that I've shared with the council and with the interim city manager to bring forward for discussion at that time to see if the council in fact wants to adopt any rules that would address that particular item. So I just wanted to follow up with the public on that issue because it was an important issue and wanted everybody to know where that stands. Any councilors want to follow up on that? All right. So, item number 4, adoption of minutes from the following meetings of the Ellsworth City Council, 8/17/2020 regular council meeting, and the 8/18/2020 emergency council meeting.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Item number 5, city manager's report.
Well, having completed my first official day as interim city manager, I have no report for this evening, but I can assure you that going forward, I will be much more well-prepared to address the community and the council with information. Thank you.
And I'd be remiss, I should have taken a moment to welcome you, Chief Mosier, to your first official council meeting, and again, extend our appreciation to you for stepping into this role and providing that oversight while we search for a new city manager. It's absolutely appreciated, and disappointed you don't have a report, but after one day, we'll let it slide,
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
All right. Item 6, committee reports. Any council members who have attended a committee who would want to give an update?
The Harbor Commission met on the 9th, and it was a very lengthy, drawn-out meeting. So far this year, we've collected, including fees from moorings, floats, slips, outer moorings, and so forth, a total of $24,117, which is pretty good. And we're so happy to have gas and diesel down there now. And it was good news to find that the harbor had sold 3,948 gallons of gas this month compared to last year's 2,801 for the month. And this year we sold 1,259 gallons of diesel. Diesel is drawing some people to the harbor, which is good. They also point out that they've rented the transit spot at the harbor for the month. This is covering, I believe, August. But anyway, the harbor is still, as they say, hopping. And we're getting ready to close it down on the 15th of October. And that's about it.
Thank you.
You want to add anything, John?
Sounds about right. You hit all the highlights, sir.
Any other committee meetings? All right. Moving on to citizens' comment. This is a portion of the agenda where we invite the community to share comments. Any item that is not on the agenda, you'll have an opportunity, if an item is on the agenda, to speak to that item. I'm looking around. I don't think there's anybody in the hallway. I do have one that I was asked to read for this meeting, so let me pull that up. And this is from Mary Blackstone, a member on behalf of the Green Plan Steering Committee. And it's in regard to search for selection of city manager. We are writing with respect to the process of selecting Ellsworth's next city manager. While the selection of an individual to lead our city staff has always been a critical process, a number of factors converge at this time to make this selection process even more critical than usual. The effects of the current pandemic have been extraordinary. There is a significant level of citizen anxiety regarding the long-term sustainability of our community on several fronts, and potential staffing changes and project developments over the next 12 to 18 months are likely to have a significant long-term impact on the city. All of this suggests that having a city manager in place who has broad support and a capacity to engage meaningfully within the community will be essential for the city to continue to grow and thrive. In our green planning process since 2017, we have consulted broadly and deeply in the community through nearly 20 public forums, written submissions from the public and organizations, multiple surveys, interviews, public and invited presentations for schools, business people, service organizations, and other nonprofits. There have been several clear and consistent lines of input we have received, but one is especially pertinent at this particular crossroads for the city of Ellsworth. Citizens have participated in substantial numbers in our green planning because they need and want to have a greater input and engagement in key decisions that are being made in Ellsworth. They want involvement at early stages that will allow them to have meaningful input into both the objectives and the process for achieving them. In our green plan, which is now undergoing professional editing prior to release for public consultation, we identify 6 basic principles to assure a sustainable future for our city. One of these principles is that ongoing planning should regularly engage citizens in meaningful and timely consultation. With this in mind, we urge City Council to include a broader representation of Ellsworth citizens in the search process and to provide opportunities for the shortlisted candidates to publicly present their credentials and vision for the city so that other citizens may submit feedback on the candidates. We see this as a vital step towards arriving at the best decision and achieving broad community support for whatever candidate is selected. Sincerely, Mary Blackstone, on behalf of the Green Planning Steering Committee. And I don't have any other comments. And I don't see any more. All right. Item 8, presentation of awards. So Darrell Clark, for 20 years with the Ellsworth Fire Department. The City of Ellsworth proudly presents this certificate of service to Darrell Clark in recognition of your 20 years of service to the Ellsworth Fire Department in your various capacities from volunteer firefighter to firefighter engineer to lieutenant to your current position as captain. Your devotion to duty and loyalty to the community have contributed to the improvement of the city of Ellsworth. Presented this, well, this goes back to March, 16th day of March, that's when you were celebrating your anniversary, 2020, and we wanted to make sure you received it in person. So thank you. Thank you very much. And Peter Layton. The City of Ellsworth proudly presents the Certificate of Service to Peter Layton in recognition of your 5 years of service as a firefighter engineer for the Ellsworth Fire Department. Your devotion to duty and loyalty to the community have contributed to the improvement of the City of Ellsworth. Presented this 21st day of September 2020. And Jane Metzler. Jane. So Jane is in recognition for 5 years of service as administrative assistant for the Ellsworth Fire Department. Your devotion to duty and loyalty to the community have contributed to the improvement of the City of Ellsworth. And we'll make sure that this gets it. All right, unfinished business consent agenda. Consent agenda, all items with an asterisk are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Item 9, Council Order Number 092000, request of the City Clerk for approval on the time polling places open for the November 3rd, 2020 State of Maine General Election and City of Ellsworth Municipal Election as 7:00 a.m. Item 10, Council Order Number 092001, request of the city clerk for appointment of wardens and ward clerks for the 4 voting districts within the city of Ellsworth for the November 3rd, 2020 State of Maine general election and City of Ellsworth municipal election.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
You have a motion?
Second.
You have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. New business. Item 11, public hearing and action on the applications for the following licenses. Hanyi Incorporated DBA China Hill Restaurant, 301 High Street, for renewal of a city Class B license, victualler, liquor, and amusement, and renewal of a state restaurant Class 1, 2, 3, 4, Malt, Spiritus, Vinous liquor license. These are all the applications are set. So I'll open the public hearing. Public hearing is open. Any comments? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Counselors?
Mr. Chairman, move approval for Hanyi Inc. doing business as China Hill Restaurant for their license renewals.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Maine Organic Therapy, 3 Myrick Street, Suite B, for renewal of a medical marijuana dispensary license, including a city victualler license. Open the public hearing. Public hearing is open. And I should just double check in case the community is weighing in. I see nothing coming through. I know there's a delay, so I will pause. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed.
Mr. Chairman, move approval of Maine Organic Therapy.
You have a motion?
I have questions.
We have, somebody want a second, then we'll get it.
Second.
We have a second discussion?
I'm just wondering if it's possible, I noticed that they didn't have any warning labels or anything like that for their product, so I just didn't know if that was something that they would be willing to do.
Can you explain for the warning labels, what do you?
Well, it's a medical dispensary, and they list off a bunch of the things that they are dispensing, and what they give to their patients, but nowhere on it is there a warning label to the potential side effects of their product, so I just wasn't sure if that's something that they would be willing to offer for their clients.
They've been in business for 10 or 15 years, and now, Manager Mosher, you've been up there and have dealings with them. I well assume that they meet all the state criteria for packaging and sending. You've had more contact than anyone else. I'm not saying you're up there, but
Yes, no, I'm not a client, but yes, they do meet all of the requirements for their packaging. And they do have, just for a little bit of knowledge, they do have a counseling and an informational process that they go through with any new clients who come into the facility before they begin to make purchases. So there is an educational component, and again, I can't speak to the exact information that's provided as far as possible side effects to the use of marijuana, but they do provide that service to any new clients. So.
So it's a suggestion, though, that they may decide to take. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? One opposition. Motion passes. Provender LLC DBA Provender, 112 Main Street, for renewal of a city Class C license, victualler and liquor, and renewal of a state restaurant Class 1, 2, 3, 4 Malt, Spiritus, and Vinous liquor license. I'll open the public hearing. Public hearing is open. Flip back to see if there was any emails. Take a dramatic pause. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed.
Mr. Chairman, move approval of Provender's request for renewal of their license.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Acadia Bowling Lanes LLC DBA Demandas, 25 Eastwood Lane, for a new city Class B licensed victualler, liquor, and arcade, and a new state restaurant Class 3 and 4 malt, liquor, beer, and wine liquor license. And is this a new application? Is there someone present? Yes, okay. So I'll open the public hearing. Public hearing is open.
Are you the owner, or?
Yes, I am.
Are you, so you're Demander?
I'm Amanda, but yes.
Okay.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed.
Mr. Chairman, move approval of the request of Acadia Bowling Lanes for a new license.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Item 12 was removed at the beginning of the meeting. Item 13, presentation and discussion by the Ellsworth Business Development Corporation, EBDC, sponsored by Chair Hamilton, and I will get them there in the hallway.
Jill, what would you like, her laptop, do we need to, with the podium?
Oh, are you setting up a,
Yeah, Fitz had we had a PowerPoint for it.
oh, that I did not know.
That was Jason.
Can Jason feed it?
Yeah,
Probably
Jay-
Jason,
Jason,
'cause I think they can.
His name.
Jason will be in a second.
This happens every once in a while when you have live action.
You may be able to feed it in. Oh, there it
Yes.
is.
We're out of practice at the meeting, so please bear with us.
Just a regular laptop?
All right, apologies for the delay. I give you guys total kudos for getting through that much of an agenda in 30 minutes. How's Jason doing? Good.
Next time.
Thank you, Jason.
Alrighty, let's see if this comes up. Alrighty, perfect. We set? Okay. First of all, thank you, Dale, for allowing us to speak. And thank you, councilmen, for also for allowing us to speak. I'm John Fitzpatrick, Senior Director of Facilities at the Jackson Laboratory, and also the current chair for the Ellsworth Business Development Corporation. Let's see. There's some new faces on the council. I don't know if EBDC's ever come before the council and presented who we are and what we do, but we want to do that here tonight. I'm going to provide a very brief introduction of EBDC, while my fellow board members, Renee Kelly and Jake Taylor, share a little bit more how the cities benefit from working with an independent economic development organization. And then Jake's going to provide a business leader's perspective for someone who does business in the city of Ellsworth. So Ellsworth, EBDC was created in 2013 with a collaboration with the city of Ellsworth under the leadership of former council chair Bob Crosswaite, former city manager Michelle Beal, former economic development director Mickey Sumter, and the founding EBDC chair Chuck Hewitt. In order to fulfill our mission, and I am going to read it, we put this on every meeting agenda and every piece of correspondence that we send out, just to remind ourselves what we're here for. And that is to promote the common good and general welfare of the public in and around the city of Ellsworth, Maine, through promotion of economic development, fostering economic growth, and facilitating job creation within the city. That's our mission. One of the things that we're most proud of is the opening of the Union River Center for Innovation. And I'm going to shortcut that and call it IRCI from now on because it's a lot easier to say. The center opened in 2016 and really is an incubator for entrepreneurial startup companies in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. We are fortunate to be located in what we consider a STEM cluster, science, technology, engineering, and math. Right surrounded by College of the Atlantic, the Jackson Laboratory, the MDI Biolab, University of Maine, Northern Light Healthcare Systems, amongst others, which is really necessary to promote innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. This vision, commitment, leadership, and initial financial support by the city of Ellsworth was invaluable to getting IRCI up and running. And EBDC really played a key role in all the things that are listed. Drafting the initial business plan around the STEM fields, seating the initial board of directors, creating the charter, and implementing it to get the IRCI up and running, partnering in facility design, grant writing and administrative support. We brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars from the Maine Technology Asset Fund, MTI, for staffing, equipment, and improvements. Maine Community Foundation, we continue to receive grants. Even right now, we've got another one pending. And then tenant selection and mentoring, which is probably the most important thing that we can do for the residents of the IRCI Center. We've created and seated an advisory committee to keep the folks focused and make sure that they become successful. And then we evaluate all applications when they come in to see who qualifies for participation in IRCI and coaching them and guiding them towards success. Right now we've got a mixture of companies in IRCI. Many are early stage startups including Gel Hydration Technologies, Novo Biosciences, Monoclonal Inks, and PT3D. But they're also integrated with more seasoned early stage ventures such as Eager Games, Sterapen, and Genotyping Center for America, GTCA. While the companies that fill the space are impressive, it's really the people that create the energy within IRCI. And it's palpable. You can feel it as soon as you walk in. And I would encourage anybody that's on the council that has not visited Erkey to make an appointment and do so. It's an amazing place, right here in Ellsworth. In 2017, we helped to bring broadband to the city of Ellsworth. A year later, we officially lit up the municipally owned 3-mile fiber optic backbone conceived and achieved through a collaborative effort with the city and Ebdc. Ebdc is currently made up of these folks. We've got 9 official board members. We've got David Cole and John Phillips, ex officio, who I think both of you are familiar with. Also myself, representing the biotechnology sector, Renee Kelly, representing education, Assistant VP for Innovation and Economic Development at the University of Maine. Tony McKim, representing banking and financials, CEO of The First. John Ronan, representing healthcare, President of Northern Light Maine Coast Hospital. Curtis Samard, also representing banking and financial, CEO of Bar Harbor Banking and Trust. Terry Sargent Smith, representing real estate co-owner and associate broker of Sargent Real Estate. Mickey Sumter, who you're also familiar with, representing director of Mount Desert Chamber of Commerce, representing municipal interests. Jake Taylor, who's here tonight, vice president of Wallace Events, and Kevin Tessio, executive VP of Darlings. At our next meeting, I think right now scheduled for the 5th of October, we'll be welcoming 3 new members. Michelle Beal, representing the legal sector, firm administrator and COO of Rudman Winchell. Matt Bowles, president of Coastal Auto Parts, and Michelle Francis, mortgage planner at Acadia Lending. These folks represent a broad range of business sectors and bringing skills and networks that they've gained over their successful career to help bring economic prosperity to the city of Ellsworth. They're a group of high-achieving, strategic, results-oriented individuals, and we're fortunate to be able to tap into their expertise. Many of you, I think all of you are aware, we're currently working with the city right now on the Hancock County Technical Center. We're trying to provide a best-in-class facility for Hancock County Technical Center students to try to create a recruiting pipeline for Ellsworth hospitality, building trades, automotive repair, laboratory technician, and healthcare employees, while also providing the opportunity for good-paying employment for future generations right here in Hancock County. Ebdc has supported this effort through all the things that are listed. We've been community champions with this council right here, with the Ellsworth School Board. We've drafted and are currently reviewing technical requests for proposals for an A&E firm to help us out on the feasibility study. And in the future, this team is committed to participating in and potentially leading a variety of building committees that are going to be necessary for the successful completion of this effort. We've committed to help with fundraising, bolstering employer and the business community support, and also strengthening community support. With that, I'd like to hand the podium over to Renee Kelly, who's going to share with you a little bit about the benefits of having a private independent economic development corporation involved. Renee?
Thank you, Fitz. As Fitz mentioned, I am Assistant Vice President for Innovation and Economic Development at the University of Maine, and in that role, I help bring the university's resources to bear to support innovation and high-growth entrepreneurship in Maine. And so I've been particularly involved in the development and thinking about the Erkey Center. But I also am involved in economic development and strategic partnerships, and at one time served as an officer of the Economic Development Association of Maine. And so I'm fairly familiar with these types of organizations throughout the state. So some of the benefits that I've seen in other organizations, including the Ellsworth one, is it's an opportunity to leverage the expertise and networks of the board members and the volunteers that they engage. So it sort of turbocharges, adds a little fuel to the fire of the efforts of the city staff to help create business development and projects within the community. It's also a mechanism for long-term projects that might span, might take 10 or 15 years to get off the ground. The board can help provide a sustainable source of energy for those projects. And as Fitz mentioned, EBDC has been quite supportive and helpful in attracting funding for the city, both from private sources and from public sources, such as for the broadband project. And we can help make sure that that funding gets reinvested back into the community as new projects come in. I think another key benefit is our ability to work with potential developers and businesses so that they have some, before it's sort of part of the public process, so they can start to understand what the potential is to work with the city. And it helps the city develop a level of trust with these businesses. So I thought I'd share just a couple of examples of other communities that have economic development organizations and how they have leveraged those organizations. So one that I'm quite familiar with, being in Orono, is the city of Old Town, and in fact, a colleague of mine sits on the board of the Old Town Economic Development Organization. And they've been very involved in developing a business park around the airport that's in the city of Old Town. And as you can see from this sign, they have quite a few businesses that have established within the airport business park. They have worked very closely with the city of Old Town and the town of Orono to create a community-owned broadband service. So that really helped speed up, and they were able to get some funding, much like the city of Ellsworth was, to spur access to high-speed internet in the community. And then they were also very involved in the creation and implementation of the downtown revitalization plan, and also more recently the facade improvements that have been taking place as part of that revitalization. And then another one that has been very successful, I would say, from my outside observations, is in Sanford and Springvale. And they've been also very involved in broadband. I think that's a common one that these economic development organizations tend to take on, because obviously it's a high need throughout the state. And it's a way for these organizations to help attract investment or find the partners to make that happen. They were also very involved in getting development of a solar installation at their airport. And again, in this particular case, the city manager and the airport director were driving the charge around the solar project, but the board members were able to help provide connections, help have those early discussions with potential developers, and really just help advance the project along. And then another project they've been quite involved in is getting new schools within the community. And they have a very nice career technical education center that's combined with their high school. It's probably the best high school in the state of Maine right now in terms of facilities and opportunities. And again, it was the city and the school board driving it, but where appropriate, the Economic Development Organization could come in, help sit on the review committee for potential partners on that, and help think about what should be in that center. For instance, the executive director there told me that they really encouraged in the development of the school to include a large performing arts center, because that would help attract people to their community and see the benefits of living in Sanford. So those are just a couple of examples that I wanted to share, and I'm going to turn it over to Jake, and then we can all take questions.
Thanks, Renee. My name is Jake Taylor. I'm an EBDC board member and the vice president of Wallace Events. I'm probably as Ellsworth as a person can be. I was born and raised in Ellsworth. I currently live in Ellsworth. I'm a third generation Ellsworth resident. I graduated from Ellsworth High School, and I'm an employer in Ellsworth. Almost all the things I do in my personal life and work life are connected with Ellsworth. I'm very passionate about our city. With Wallace Events, I travel the state extensively. And in these travels, I see a full range of towns. Some are growing, vibrant, advancing, and others are not making the investments needed to stay relevant. I'm proud of the advancements that our city has made in the last 10 years to grow and be poised for future growth. a new EEMS, Knowlton Park, Jack's coming to Ellsworth, rebuilding 1A from Bangor almost all the way into Oak Street, and being the fastest growing city in Maine in the last census. These are all major accomplishments that any city would be proud of. Renee provided some great examples of other towns with public-private partnerships, and I couldn't help but also think of Waterville. Colby College and the city of Waterville created a partnership to refurbish a large section of their downtown. Many of their buildings in the downtown area were in need of major updating or were vacant. Colby worked with the city to acquire these buildings and then invested hundreds of millions into creating new restaurant spaces, a renovated theater, downtown dorms, a hotel, and they also put together a campus to downtown transportation program to get people connected from the campus to where this new investment was. It's a great example of a public-private partnership that had incredible success. The Ellsworth mantra of business, life, and leisure is still very appropriate. We need to continue to advance by creating initiatives to support all key components of a relevant growing city. Quality workforce, dining and entertainment, housing, quality schools, internet quality and availability, and diversified industries. All these things are critical to the continued success of Ellsworth. EBDC discusses these topics often and is excited and motivated to aid and support the council. We're in the midst of a population shift from the large metropolitan areas to smaller cities, and Ellsworth could really benefit. And back over to you, Vic.
Okay, so I promise this is the last slide. But I wanted to just share what I think are the important takeaways for the council. EBDC is a collaborator, not a competitor, either with the council or the city manager or any other municipal entity. We're a resource to help implement the City of Ellsworth economic development strategy. We also, as Renee said, offer access to a team of dedicated individuals on EBDC that are willing to donate time and talent to implementing your vision. It also allows the city to leverage access to grants and philanthropy that are otherwise unavailable to municipalities. And as Renee said, we are able to work outside of the municipal constraints. We can work out and have private discussions with developers without making the public record. There's a lot of folks that are interested in coming into a city, but don't want to let their intentions be known early on. That's where EBDC can come in and have those discussions in confidence. But all the while following the city's lead and following the city's goals. I hope this overview provides a little bit better understanding of what EBDC is and has stimulated the council to think of ways that we can continue to collaborate, that you can leverage the time and talents that are available on the EBDC board to again follow up to promote the economic development, foster economic growth, and facilitate job creation within the city. So we'd love to leave the presentation with those takeaways, and Renee, Jake, and I are more than happy at this point to answer any questions that the council may have.
Well, I'll just say a comment in terms of, one of the things that I appreciate about your group is the fact, and if you look at HCTC and the work that's taking place there, it's not just that short-term process that we're going through at the moment in terms of the facility. It's really that long-term strategic thinking about providing opportunities for our graduating seniors in high school and being able to step out of high school with marketable skills, as well as having those jobs available in the community and really connecting all those dots. And that's such an important part, and it's something that vision of being able to think past just what's happening now and looking long-term is so important. It keeps our community vibrant, provides those opportunities, and the city alone couldn't do that, and it does take that partnership So I think that's just a really good example of being able to collaborate and bring those resources together in a way that adds value to the community.
Excellent, thank you. Any others? We thank you again for your time
Thank you.
and support.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 14, public hearing and action on amendments to the City of Ellsworth Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34 Personnel Ordinance.
Good evening, councils. You should have a memo as well as the chapter 34 in your packets, and I'm happy to either give you a summary, or if you want to just ask questions, if you've had a chance to look over your packet.
You want to just give a kind of an overview so the public is aware of what?
Sure, so
present.
there are several revisions that need to be made in the future, but for right now, I'm proposing two. One of those is on page 12, chapter 5. It's regarding sick leave that was accumulated prior to our current cafeteria plan implementation. The way that it is written now, it is paid out in cash at 50% of the time remaining. And I would like to amend this to include that payout can be by contribution to an approved retirement plan or retirement health savings for the payout. And the second item is chapter 11. City attorney has informed me that chapter was written in the midst of a collective bargaining agreement with the highway department and is no longer applicable and should just be repealed with the 3 side letters as it's no longer needed.
Councilor Blanchett?
Tony, I just want to make sure that the 50% cash payout, if we extend it to the RHS, is also at that same percentage?
Correct.
50%, okay.
Other questions, comments?
To me, it seems like a good plan. I couldn't think of any reason not to change it in the way you described. Are there any shortcomings of that?
No, it's in line with other union contracts and other benefits that we have. It would also save payroll tax on a cash payout if they chose to put it into retirement or a health savings account. So there's a pro for the city in that respect.
I like it.
Ready for a motion?
Public hearing.
Councilor?
It's a public hearing, right?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. It's a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing. And if anybody has a comment that listening and wants to email it, I will give you a minute. Thank you, Councilor Grindle. Not seeing any comments. I'll close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed.
Mr. Chairman, I move to amend and seek approval of the Chapter 34 Personnel Ordinance, Chapter 5, Section 6, to read, "At the time of separation from service, employees that are immediately eligible for benefits under the Maine State Retirement System or other city-adopted qualified retirement plan shall receive a payment equal to the wage equivalent of 50% of their remaining sick leave accumulation in cash, contribution to a qualified city retirement plan or city RHS account, and to repeal Chapter 11 with 3 side letters as requested by the city HR department under advisement by the city's attorney."
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 15, Council Order Number 092002, request of the Water Superintendent to purchase the ignition Scada system.
Hello, Reggie Wenzel, the Water Department Superintendent. So some back history on this. Our current SCADA system is very old. It fails often. We have timely and costly repairs. I am asking to purchase a new SCADA system through inductive automation
Can you just, can
for
you,
a total of $27,492. I budgeted $30,000. Some of that is gonna be used for the IT department to do some of their upgrades, which are kind of necessary for this to take place as well. That's not in here, but that's already been approved.
can you just, so the public knows what a SCADA system is? what-
Okay, yeah.
What it is?
So our SCADA system is it's a computer-based system that runs our entire plant and our distribution system. It lets us know when we have alarms, if something is not in line where it should be. It tells us our flows, it collects data every day. And all that gets reported to the state, so it helps with that as well. And overall, it tells us how our plant is producing. So the new SCADA system is very much up to date and current. It allows for use of multiple servers and drivers and a lot more stuff that Jason could explain better than I can. It's more user-friendly. I've used it in the past. And I think it should be a really good fit.
Questions?
If you do get your wish, how long does it take for implementation to finish and working?
I anticipate probably a month at the most.
Reggie, I see that inductive automation is in Folsom, California.
Yes.
Repairs, parts, service, how?
So we will have a 24/7 phone-based support system. We will have a backup system on their servers. So if our current system goes down, we can revert back to the backup, and most of the other repairs as far as our modules and stuff can be done in-house. We can get the parts locally, right out of Bangor.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And lastly, this is all being paid for by user fees.
Yes.
Thank you.
The gentleman that we use for all of our computer stuff, our Scada now, is familiar with this, so he knows what it is. It's a matter of just transferring the information over. So that really cuts down on time.
Councilor Kaplan?
Can you just say what SCADA stands for?
Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the purchase of an ignition SCADA system through inductive automation with a total cost of $27,492.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Item 16, Council Order Number 092003, request of the Water Superintendent to award a bid for the Water Department meter reading program.
So our current meter reading program, the crew goes out monthly and reads a portion of the water meters. This takes roughly 2 weeks to do. With this system, it's radio reads, so the guys will be able to hop in the truck and drive through town. On average, it should probably take them an hour to read what we call a route, which would be a quarter of the meters throughout the city. This system is also migratable to what is called an AMI system, which eventually we could get to, and the utilities coordinator could, in fact, read meters from her desk. And she could get the whole entire system within an hour. But for the moment, I'm asking to go with the AMR, which is just the drive-by reading. I sent out for 3 bids. I am going to start with what appears to be the lowest bid. This company has no standalone radios. So that being said, we have an additional 82 2-inch meters that we would have to replace in order to be able to use that radio system. On top of that, we would have an additional 1.5 meters to purchase to also get those onto the radio system. Most of these meters are brand new already. And in order to purchase those, that'd be another additional $1,000 a piece for the smaller meter. Our current system is census meters. And that would be provided by E.J. Prescott. And then there is the system I'm asking for, the one to award the bid. They are a bit lower than the previous that we have. Their system is cheaper in the annual fees, which are yearly, so their system will also work with multiple brand meters. So it's very versatile as far as that goes. We wouldn't be stuck to just one meter brand. There are other options for that. Ty Sales is the only company that met 8 of the 10 that on the spec sheet that I printed out for you. I listed 8 of the specs that I was asking for, and they were able to meet all 8 of those, whereas the competitors were not.
So on this spreadsheet, looking at the Thai sales bid, in the lower part, the year 1, 2, 3 portion of the information, the different meters that you need, you've broken that out of how many you'll be purchasing of each kind per year. And does all that total the 3-year, 327? Is that combining all of that together?
Yes, so for that column for the 5/8 meters, to purchase the 5/8 meters, 434 per year, comes out to a total of $273,000 over the 3 years.
And is that equipment installation costs, or is that just the
That is
purchase?
just the meters.
And then how are the meters then, those are getting, so you're installing 434 meters, the water department will be doing that?
Yes.
And what's the time involvement in terms of per meter?
On average, it shouldn't be any longer than 20 minutes per meter. There's 2 bolts that come out, or 2 nuts that come off. The meter comes out, the new one goes in, a couple of wires, and they're done.
Councilor Phillips?
One of your specs say no batteries in the meters, so what would power the meter?
So with the tie sales meters, the Neptune meters, there's actually a small solar panel inside the head, which powers the meter.
There's a small
The
what?
meter's right.
A small solar panel inside the meter head.
But I thought the meter head's inside or outside?
The meter head's inside, so it doesn't need a whole lot of light. There's very minimal light that it needs.
Even in a dark room?
Yes.
Well. And again, Fred.
So I have, the sales rep for Neptune is here. You could probably answer that.
And on something else, why, under the FW web bid, again, do you need the 1.5-inch meters and the 2-inch meters, and yet the other two wouldn't require?
So this company doesn't offer just a radio, where the other two companies, we can buy a radio that would mount to the meter. FW Web does not offer one of those. It's an all-in-one, some kind of an all-inclusive package with them.
So there is no radio with theirs, or there is a radio?
There is, so their radios are built into the meter,
And the others are separate?
and the others we can get separate.
Which allows us to buy radios for the meters that we already have and not have to replace all the meters that we already have in the system.
So you lost me on that one. So the tie bid is for the meters
Meters, yes.
without the radios.
Those have a radio within,
They're built
Within the-
into it.
yes.
So that's part of that.
yep.
Okay, and then the FW web was for the meters.
So, and again, their meters, the radio is built in, but we have over 150 meters that are brand new, that if we go with FW Web, we would have to purchase them again
Okay.
at the cost of, $1,500, depending on the size of the meter.
So
Or 170 for a 5/8.
So the ones that you're talking about that are brand new, they're not included in this?
They're not included in that, and those will get what I have as a standalone radio. So we'll buy a radio for those meters.
I just
Am
want
I stepping?
to help, because I was confused in the same thing. So there's multiple things we're looking to buy for this project. There's the standalone radios, which we augment our current meters that are in good shape. All the brand new ones that we've bought in the last couple of years, we buy these radios, we attach it to our newer meters, and then we're good to go. On top of that, there is the 1300, and then 15, and then 80, where we want to buy the meters with the radios, like both, so that we can have a new meter with a radio, and we're good to go. So there's various different pieces to try to make the whole system be able to be read from these radios. FW Web, it's all in one, so we would have to replace, like he said, the ones that we've bought in the last couple of years. Versus TI sales, we could just buy the radios to make the newer meters function and go lickety split. The other thing to keep in mind is when he came to you a year or so ago for a new, 2 years now, for a fourth water operator. The whole idea of the fourth water operator was so that we would have time and additional staff to implement this project and get that going.
Councilor Kaplan?
So what is the estimated employee time currently spent reading meters?
We're gonna go from a 2-week per route to a 1-day per route.
And on average, how many hours per day is, like, how many hours per employee are spent reading those meters?
It's one person for 2 weeks straight.
Yes.
And so if we implement this, are we going to be cutting that employee?
No,
No, I will be able to find other stuff for them. I have, at this point already, have been able to take on other tasks.
This was just one of the many different things we listed out as a reason why we needed a fourth person. And then we're spreading it out over multiple years just for the sheer fact that we cannot install 1,400 meters in a year. So we need to split it nor store that many of them anywhere. So that's why we split it up over the next few years.
Council Blanchett.
Reggie, a couple of years ago, when you first presented this, you gave us this option. You also talked about a system that was totally automatic.
Yes,
The
that would
me-
be the
meter-
AMI.
The meter that would just report it here to City Hall.
Yep.
And the clerk could call it up. Has there been any change in the price difference between this system and the fully automatic?
I'm gonna say yes, there's quite a bit of price difference in between what I've gotten now from when I first went for this. So I would say there is going to be added cost to that. And that's just for the database and some software.
You're saying that this one has gone up or down?
So this has gone up since when I first approached this, the cost of this.
Have you looked into the cost of a fully automatic?
Not at this point, I have not, not yet. 2 years ago, yes, but for this, I did not.
Is that where we're headed eventually?
Eventually, yes. It may
Possibly.
be, maybe 10 years, it may be 20.
All right.
What is the cost for a standalone radio?
The standalone radio is $112.50.
And you would need to purchase 150 of those, roughly.
Roughly, yes.
Reggie, what's been in your experience, the reception of people? You know, when you guys knock on the door and saying, hey, we want to come in and change out your meter.
So far, there hasn't been a whole lot of issue with that. I mean, there's a couple, for whatever reason, they don't want us in their house. But we keep trying and trying, and eventually we've been able to make it in. But so far, so good. We've gotten our utilities coordinator now, contacts them, sends them a letter in the mail or email if she can, and we've gotten a pretty good response so far.
Does it create a mess?
Generally, no. I mean, the only time it would make a mess is if the valve inside their shut-off valve doesn't work. But other than that, it's a cup of water that might spill. And the guys usually have a bucket with them that they can put underneath the meter to catch the water.
Councilor Cap?
So you looked at the fully automated unit a couple years ago?
Yes,
What was the price of that,
just about 350,000,
to have a fully automated
fully automated.
system? But you're talking about spending $300,000 now over the next 3 years, but then you said you were looking at in 10 years going fully automatic.
So 2 years ago, when I looked into this, the system that I'm looking at now was about 250,000, and the automatic was quite a bit higher. So this being 2 years later, the prices have gone up. That's, and the possibility of going with the automatic system, it may not happen. It's, if cost is too much, then we won't go that route. We'll just keep it to what we have now and just go with it.
So you said it was not 300,000 3 years ago?
2 years ago, it was about 250,000 for the AMR, the system that we're looking at now. And it was roughly 350,000 for the automatic system. There's
Right.
quite a bit more to the automatic system.
And so if you're looking at 323,000 now for the non-automatic system,
Probably closer to 450.
Probably, yeah, could be.
Now, Steve, what do you say? Is that about right?
If you want me to speak, I can. So there's quite a bit more to an automatic, an AMI system than there is an AMR system.
Can I have you go up so the public can hear you? Thank you.
So my name's Steve Clements, I'm with the company Tie Sales, and hopefully we'll do this meter bid. There's a tremendous amount more to go with an AMI system than there is an AMR system. An AMR system, you're just like Reggie was explaining, you're driving around collecting the meter readings. And it's all done with a handheld unit or a truck-mounted unit. An AMI system, you put up collectors throughout the city, and you want the meters to call into these collectors to have it come on back to the desk, as he's saying. Sounds really great, and it is a super system. However, it takes a little bit of maintenance, and it doesn't quite work like clockwork all the time. This AMR system, the drive-by system, many of the communities around you have this. Bangor uses this exact system, Hamden, Belfast, Dover, Dexter, and others. And it's, very reliable, and so far, everyone's been quite happy with it. The cost, your question was about the cost. It is essentially the same meter and radio. It's the collectors and then the maintenance that goes on for the collectors and the software end of it. It becomes a different criteria for the software. There's more data that you store. With an AMI system, you get 24 reads a day per customer. So you gotta have a place to store that, and that becomes an issue. But the whole software package becomes much more money than the AMR system. So that's one cost. And if I can address the radio thing that you guys are asking about as far as separate radios, what we were trying to do is our radio works with multiple meters. So the radios that we have work with all your system currently. And so the meters that you've bought over the last 5 years are still in great shape. We're trying to save those assets for you. Love to take them all out, that'd be fine, but this will help you guys out saving those assets and just adding on a radio and continuing on. Getting the same information out of those as you would the new meter with the radio that you put on. And the other meters, the radio is built right into the meter. So it's one quick package, nice tight package versus a radio on the outside of the building or up in the rafters of your basement.
So, the way you broke, is this cost, since we're purchasing over a 3-year period, are we purchasing in bulk and just taking the first year inventory? Or is the price locked into that price, even if we're?
So these prices that are in your spreadsheet are the prices for the next 3 years. Those are firm for the next 3 years. I do have just a rough estimate of, I thought I had. So in your packet, just before the memo, I believe, is roughly what I'm looking to purchase this year. So roughly 200 5/8 meters. All 15 of the 3/4 inch meters. 40 of the 1 inch, 60 radios, the AMR system, and the annual fee, which brings me to $7,600 or $76,000. Just for this year, and then next year, I'll be able to purchase more radios because I'll be minus the $6,000 for the AMR system. Does that make sense?
Okay. How about the 250 versus the 3?
Oh, yeah, so, and also, when I budgeted this, I budgeted 250,000,
Which was approved through the.
which was approved through the PUC, through the bond grant that we got, or not grant, but the bond package. So I guess I'm asking just to use the 250,000, and then over the next few years after that, I'll have to incorporate a meter program, so to speak, to purchase the remaining meters and radios.
What did you say the bottom line figure was after the third year?
After the third year,
In other words, the bottom line.
so all the prices are firm for 3 years. The total project is $327,110 per this bid. We got approved through the PUC for the bond of $250,000. And so, year one, I'm asking to spend $76,009.75.
And that's,
On its way to 327,000 over the
Yes.
following 2 years.
Yeah, so once the 250,000 is used from the bond, I'll have to start implementing money in the budget to purchase meters as we go.
Will any of this money come from income generated by the
Yes,
water company?
yes,
It's all rate-based.
it's all rate-based.
So essentially, that will take care of the additional cost.
Yes,
That makes it a lot easier to swallow,
much, yes.
speaking of water.
just to follow up, for clarity, so going back, the rate increase that you proposed, I forget how many months ago it was, but
January, I think it was final.
that's the referencing that you're talking about in terms of the PUC approved the rate increase.
So the PUC approved the rate increase, but also for this back last budget cycle, I had asked to start this program. We then Tammy went for a bond package for this and to buy other stuff as well. So we finally got approval for that, and
PUC has to approve any borrowing we do for
So,
water infrastructure.
Yeah. This was a carve-out from the $3.2 million bond package you approved last year. Given it was being paid by the water ratepayers, that piece of it had to be approved by the PUC, but that's separate from the rate increase.
so tell me if I'm accurate on the statement. So the rate increase that is happening, this is all rate-based.
yep,
The rate increase is happening, that's taking place. So the rates that people are paying for their water, that increase is going into place. These purchases will be paid for out of those increases. There's not a separate increase coming.
No.
It's all part of what's already going to take place.
yes,
And so whether we move in this direction or not, the rate is still increasing.
Yes.
And if we purchase this, it doesn't change what ratepayers are paying.
no.
Yeah.
So, and then also to add to that a little bit, the current meters we have are old, and meters are like us, they slow down with age. So by installing a new meter, it'll be more accurate. So we'll be getting a more accurate reading on our meters and water usage.
So that brings me to a comment that I just received. Is there a possibility, based on what you just said, of the current meters not reading correctly and with the new meters, is there a possibility that people will find that their water usage is more than what they're currently
Yes.
charging? And could they see substantial increases in their?
So 9 out of 10 people are gonna see an increase in their water usage.
But not substantial.
It shouldn't be substantial. Again, depending on how old the meter is.
Will it drive them into the next
A
bracket?
lot of people I don't believe, because there are a lot of people that don't get to the minimum now. So they're essentially paying for water that really hasn't quite reached yet, for that bracket. For 3 months, people are using 800 cubic feet, and for a 5/8 meter, the minimum is 900 cubic feet. So I don't believe it'll put them in the next bracket.
Conversely, any chance of it going down? The ones that are using the 1,200 bracket? would it fall
Now,
to the
unfortunately, they don't speed up. They only slow down.
Unless you have a leaky toilet.
Yeah. So, and by that, if somebody does have a leaky toilet, we can get alarms for that. We can actually print out some hourly or every couple of hours usage, and they can see where their peak usage is, where their low usage is. I believe it's 2 gallons a minute for 12 hours or 24 hours for it to trigger.
Yeah, we can go back and find anomalies
But
too.
yeah, we can go back 90 days and see what their usage was through that meter.
So if somebody has a seasonal residence and they come back and they find, or they're in Florida for the winter and they get a bill that's much higher than their norm, they can call you and you can look at that meter and tell them, hey, look, you're suddenly using more water on this particular day. It's probably a leaky pipe or a frozen pipe.
Provided it was in the past 90 days, yes.
So that's good.
Reggie, will any of that information be available to the customer online?
I'm not sure online. I don't think we can go quite that far yet, but if they call and ask, we can definitely get it to them.
Any further questions? Any?
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the purchase of a Neptune meter reading system and associated meters from Thai Sales not to exceed $250,000, funding from the 2019 bond proceeds with borrowing approval through the Maine Public Utilities Commission.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 17, Council Order Number 092004, request of the Public Works Director to award the bid for a 3/4 ton work truck.
Good evening. I'm gonna take this off so I can breathe for a couple minutes. So on September 16th, we had a bid opening for a Public Works 3/4 ton truck. And as you can see on your attached, we received 3 responses from Darlings Ford, Darlings Dodge, and Varney GMC. The low bidder is actually Darlings Ford out of Bangor. But we are requesting to, if you guys approve it, go for the GMC from Varney out of Bangor, because both the Darlings Ford and Dodge had a 14 to 16 week lead time, and the Varney GMC is in stock and can be at our door within 5 to 7 days. When I first put this bid out and came to you guys to ask to go after a truck, we had one truck that had been taken out of commission due to frame or actually engine issues. Since then, and since we put this out to bid, a second truck has been found to have frame issues and not worth repairing, so we are now down 2 pickup trucks. And going into winter, we would like to hopefully have some pickup trucks for when we have ice storms or trees down or any of those lovely things that happen during ice storms. So that was the reasoning behind trying to go after the truck that is in stock at Varney. As well as the prices isn't too dramatic between the different vendors, and to buy the truck and all the associated equipment that we need to get would still be under the original allocated amount for the pickup truck replacement.
Would you have any problem having it serviced at the Ellsworth?
Nope.
Okay,
Nope.
so I think that does make a difference.
Does, and when I read through that, it said they expected to have it, is that in stock, do you know? Have you checked?
We went up there Friday and checked it out, yes.
So they do have
They
it,
have 4 of them in stock,
4,
yes.
You can only have
and this one's going to get a plow also?
It's going to reuse the plow that's on our current foreman's truck for now.
What's on that now, is it,
Fisher, is it 8 foot?
it's a V, 8696?
8.6V. Extreme V, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's a new headgear,
Yes, we'd have to buy push plates and all that.
push plates and that. And one, and Reggie just left, with, one of the earlier council meetings, he was discussing trucks, and there was a request for a diesel engine. And going through these bids, I noticed in the Ford portion that the diesel engine option is $10,500.
Yeah.
So it is a substantial upgrade, as we had guessed. I thought it at Seventh Worth, and I thought, now that GM, and the GMC is in stock. It should be good. Thank you.
So, not a judgment question, but a question in terms of, you talk about 2 trucks with frame issues. What is the, I know the trucks are used, and I don't know how old they are either, so that may be a factor, but can you give some insight in terms of what is causing that? Is it,
So both of the trucks that are now out of commission were hand-me-downs from previous departments.
they're that old?
One was from the wastewater department and one was from the water department.
So
When
you
they
blame-
got new trucks, the highway department got their
So
hand-me-downs.
it's Mike's problem.
Mike's F-250 from
Mike caused the problem.
2000 and, I don't know. And then one of them was one of Reggie's old trucks.
Okay, so it's the age.
They are
They're not,
aged.
okay.
They are aged, mild, and they've been well used.
And the reason for that is part of it, again, for the public, is that
Yep.
when you don't hear about how old the trucks are, and you just
And that's
hear
it.
that, it's important for people to understand that these are older vehicles, that they've been used,
Yep.
as opposed to 5 years old, and if that were the case, then
Right.
that would be a different question.
Nope,
so.
and last time the highway department got a new truck, pickup truck, was 2014. So we
that
have
Bernie's?
used hand-me-downs from various other departments to their full extreme. And because we're rate-based and ours was tax-based, so it was just easier to pass them down and keep riding them until they decided to wear out.
Yep, thank you.
So I assume those trucks' frames have lasted better if you'd stop using salt in the roads.
We could do that.
Yeah,
Or maybe it's just from going over Water Street all the time.
Do the frames get, do the undersides get sprayed?
Yes.
I don't mean with salt, I mean with a.
Yes, with like a fluid film type thing,
Yeah,
yes.
Yes,
Yes.
every year.
Generally, yes.
We also have a pressure washer.
Now we pressure wash them. We have an undercarriage washer device that attaches to our pressure washer. So yeah, they're not contrary to, I mean, there's some dings and dents and things happen, but for the most part, they're fairly well. You know, we keep them in the garage so they're out of the weather when they don't need to be. And, that, you know, we've done mechanicking work and kept them going, and at some point you say $6,000 worth of engine work, it's just not worth it anymore.
Is there any difference other than price between the 20 and the 21 models?
So It's actually really, it's just availability. The 21s are, they're gonna get made at the factory, custom order essentially, versus the Varney GMC is something they have in stock that meets what we want. It probably has a few extra perks that we wouldn't have normally put in our bid specs, but they're willing to give it to us for a fairly reasonable price.
For $3,250 more.
Yep.
And, which brings me to my concern. Varney's is 11% more for a year-old truck. And they have 4 of them in stock.
They just got them.
I find it a little hard to believe that they can get 4, but Darlings can't get 1.
Because 2021s are brand new, they come out in the fall, so they're literally brand, like, I think it's September that they come out usually with 2021s, correct? Somewhere in there, September, October. So they're literally like,
I'll say something.
gotta be manufactured versus, Varney just got these 2020s, I think he said the 10th. So he just got them a few days ago.
But the
Whether
total-
they were sitting on a lot somewhere else,
But
you know, I mean, I don't know, but.
It
But-
still
but the
comes
time-
down to $3,250 more. And that keeps sticking in my craw.
They're still both brand spanking new.
Yes, but it's still $3,250 more that the taxpayers will have to lay out, because we don't wanna wait. And I can't bring myself to come up with that, to be honest. If I was buying a truck personally, and it was that much difference, hell, I'll wait to save that kind of money. And I think any taxpayer out there would. Just my 2 cents. And the other thing on Varney's bid, it said that the work, can be done at their location in Bangor. Which means that we have to take an employee to take that truck up, and if it needs any extended work, then there's 2 employees to go up with the vehicle, with 2 vehicles to bring that 1 employee back.
GMCs can be serviced here in town at Darlings, even during the warranty period.
Are we sure of that?
Yeah, I think if there's any sort of factory recalls or anything, any dealership can do them.
Well, that would take some of the sting out of it, but it still doesn't take the sting of the $3,250, in my mind.
I don't know if you've noticed, Mark, driving around, but the car dealerships are empty. The
Yep.
trucks are limited, the cars are limited. It's a very peculiar time. There's not a huge amount of selection out there. If you've noticed out here, Darling Chevrolet's got just a small handful of trucks, and even on the hill, there's very few trucks. It's not much. It's strange times with that stuff.
Lisa, are there any other disadvantages to the GMC over the other trucks, besides the price?
Honestly, I don't particularly myself have a brand. I could care less. To me, a truck is a truck is a truck. The Darlings Ford thing is the cheapest. The concern was it has a smaller engine. It has an aluminum truck bed, which means it dings and dents more. And the Ford dealership, we would have to go to Bangor for service because they can't service the Fords here. The Dodge, it's the same thing. They can service the Dodge here, service it anywhere. There's a Dodge dealership. The GMC, most of what we have currently is GMCs or Chevys, but there's nothing that makes it. It's honestly, it's the time frame that is the reasoning that I'm asking to go for that one.
Council Moore and then Council Grindle.
Were all of the 4 that you saw at Varney's the same price?
Sorry, miss.
Well, you said there were 4 on the lot.
Oh, yes, he said there was 4 on the lot, any of them would be the same price, yes.
It just seems strange that the 2021s that aren't here yet are that much lower in price. Do you have any idea what
I
this truck might
think,
have that the others don't?
I think because they are in-stock vehicles, they have some additional, items that we wouldn't normally spec out, which drives the price up. Like, it's got some steps in the side bed, so you can step up and reach into your toolbox in the back, and it's got some additional accessories or options that we wouldn't normally spec out, but it's something they have in stock, and it was something they were ready to give us a decent price on.
Do you think there's any chance they would be even more decent?
I don't believe so, but
Give it a try.
when we looked at the sticker, it was already, I think, 10 grand under the sticker price.
Counselor Grindle, did you?
I was just gonna echo Counselor Phillips' comments about supply. And I wondered if really the 14 to 16 weeks was even accurate, because I'm hearing that they're having a hard time getting vehicles, so.
In our previous purchases, we were told that time frame, and it always crept up longer than that. And that was my concern, is that we'd be into February and have ice storms where I don't have enough pickup trucks to get guys out to deal with trees down in 4 different locations. And that's really why, when we saw this thing was available in 5 to 7 days, it was like, for $3,000, I know it's money, and I completely understand, the concern for $3,000, but it's still, like I said, I can buy this more expensive truck and outfit it for less than what we originally planned for the project.
You're gonna get the red one.
It's white.
Any other questions? So just, I guess the last one, just, the ones that you're waiting for, we don't know the timeline. It's not a firm,
It's not, they just said 14 to 16 weeks, but like I said, in the past, it's always been slightly longer than that.
and it-
And that was before COVID.
and is the price, the price could change?
The price
Okay.
wouldn't change, it would just be the delivery
So they-
time
okay.
frame.
So that's the unknown.
The expected life expectancy of a new truck?
Hopefully 10-ish years.
10 to 12 years. So,
I mean, some of them are, what is that, 06? So we're at 14?
Yeah,
so it makes the extra $3,000 a little more palatable to know that if you
And I think-
stretch it out over 10 to 12 years, it's not quite that much more.
I think you'll find the new product too is a little more resistant to the salt than the other Ordinance that they're doing. So they're using different materials and they're using different coatings, and that does seem, the frames and things do seem to last a little better. And that stuff in 06 and 04 was awful. You look at it, it looks just like honeycomb after a fashion.
All right.
Ready? Mr. Chairman, move to approve the request of the Public Works Director to award the purchase of a new 2020 GMC Sierra 2500 3/4-ton four-wheel drive pickup as specified to Varney GMC at a cost of $33,200 to be paid for through the Highway Department Capital Improvement Account.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? One opposed, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 18, Council Order Number 092005, request of the IT Systems Administrator to purchase server hardware. Jason will be here.
Do we need him to explain? John's ready, eh? Can't you explain it? You always so good at that.
It's like there's an escape button.
And there you are.
Good evening, Jason Engels, IT Systems Admin. I'm asking tonight to purchase some additional storage for our network servers. In 2018, we bought new server clusters that are expandable. So this would just add an extra node to our existing clusters. We're currently at about 80% capacity, so we need to move on adding some more storage. So
You either need to get rid of data or get more storage?
that's what it comes down to, yeah. I'll entertain any questions. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. We're filling up and we need more space.
Any
Mr.
questions?
Chairman,
Yes.
move to approve the IT Systems Administrator to purchase additional network storage from Insight Public Sector for $28,085. Funding as follows: $25,000 from the Network Storage CIP and $3,085 from the Water Department CIP.
We have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Item 19, Council Order Number 092006, request of the Finance Director to withdraw funds from the Training Site Improvement Reserve account to purchase a replacement fire inspector/code enforcement inspection vehicle.
I'm not the finance director, but I have her here for the backup. So, I am here tonight asking to purchase one of the police cruisers that they're intending to trade in, the last one, I guess. And in the budget process, I asked for this to happen. It didn't come to fruition through the budget process, but working with the finance director, we did find some monies that were a startup, what we believe to be a startup reserve account for the training site. So that currently has a balance of $6,403.75. What I'm requesting is to use some of those funds to pay the trade-in allowance to the police department to offset what they would get for that trade. And then additionally, I'm asking to use the remaining balance out of that fund so that we can re-letter the vehicle to represent the city of Ellsworth as a code enforcement, fire department vehicle, whatever. And then lastly, the light bar that is on it obviously has blue lights, and we're researching, I'm sorry I don't have a number for you, but we're researching the potential ability to change the LED lights in that to red so that we can keep it as a responsive vehicle for the fire department too. This vehicle gets used in multiple ways. Its primary task would be for the inspectors or the code enforcement officers to go out and do inspections. We would also use it if we went out of town for training, or if we needed it to maneuver around for incident scenes. Kind of a general purpose vehicle.
Questions, comments?
Well, from what I've heard in the past, these police cruisers they wouldn't be used extensively, so that there's still quite a lot of life left in it.
For the purpose that we would intend to
Yeah.
use, yes.
I think it makes sense. I'm in favor of it.
Is there a motion?
Okay. Move to approve the request of the finance director to withdraw funds from the training site improvement reserve account to purchase one of the police cruisers that are being traded, and the remaining funds to be used for modifications as described.
Second.
Motion a second. Discussion. All those in favor?
Disposal, I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, disposal of the current one. We had recommended potentially giving that to HCTC automotive program. There may be just some discussion of giving that to the law enforcement program there, as the other one was intended to be used for, but if that's okay, we'll follow that suit. I don't know if you're not needing a
We
motion or
need
anything, I
that.
guess.
Make that.
I don't think so,
Make it
because
go away.
there's no value.
Make it go away, that's what I heard. Thank you.
All right. Item 20, Council Order Number 092007, request of the wastewater superintendent to award a contract for cleaning and inspecting the sewer mains.
Good evening, Mike Karras, Ellsworth wastewater superintendent. Here tonight to ask you to approve contracting out to have a third of the sewer system jetted, cleaned, and inspected. I asked for 3 proposals from 3 different companies. I received 2, the third one never. I called them multiple times. They kept saying they'd get it to me, they never got it to me. So we ended up with Clean Harbors giving us a bid, and the Ted Berry Company giving us a bid. Ted Berry was much lower than Clean Harbors, so I'm recommending the Ted Berry Company bid. The bid itself, I think bottom line is $41,560. There's a good possibility we won't spend that because it's estimated at a 10-day project. I don't expect it'll take 10 days for the area that we're looking at doing. The area of the city that we're looking at doing is going to be areas associated with flow to the Water Street Pump Station. We're doing the Water Street Pump Station upgrade, and as part of that project from the DEP request is that we do some inflow and inspection, inflow and infiltration investigation to see why we get so much flow at Water Street. And so as part of this work, they will be cleaning, jetting, and then cammering all those lines. And they'll be able to give us that a large amount of data that we can then use to identify issues that we have in that system, and then come up with potential projects to cure any major issues that we find.
The bid says they supply the flaggers,
Yeah,
and you, I assume, have to have a man, or will have a man with them, working with
Yes.
them? Just one?
yeah.
Based on things that have happened, it's absolutely necessary to clean those pipes out.
Yes, sir.
It's a lot less expensive than buying our own equipment to do that.
Actually, no, but. Because we're only doing a third of the system. And that's only part of what we need for the rest of it. I mean, we have a lot of other things that we need that for. I
Yeah.
could spend it easy, 100,000.
I was thinking back to the conversation that we had.
I was not gonna bring that up at all.
Other questions?
How much of the system have we had done so far? I know there was one day. they
We
were
did
High Street.
3,000 feet on High Street, from probably the McDonald's intersection all the way down through to Washington Street. So that's why, if you look at the bid, it estimates 10 days, because we're looking at doing 25,000 feet. And so we were only able to get 3,000 feet done the day that we had the last company come out, ACV Environmental. The difference that we're looking at here is, so a couple things. One, in respect to the flaggers, they probably will not use flaggers on the side streets. They're not necessary. When we get it, if we get out on the Bridge Hill or someplace like that, where there'd be a lane closure or something involved, then they would use flaggers that day. But typically, they said they would just have street signs telling you work ahead and things like that, so you know that we're gonna be in the area jetting. And so, the thing one of the things I would bring up, though, is that the bid that you have in front of you quotes, I think, $3,680 a day. The same company last year, when I got this bid, was $6,000 a day. They're very hungry because COVID hurt them badly. And so one of the things that we could consider, which I would have to talk to them about, is if we do complete the third of the system quickly, say in 5 days, would we want to have them continue at this rate to spend the 41,000? Or would we rather not save the money, but probably pay more next year when I come back to do the next third of the system? So it's something, I haven't spoken to the company to ask them if they would be willing to continue if they finish the,
How much money?
because
do
I
you
just
have-
thought of that, but
How much money do you have in your budget?
we budgeted, I believe, 50,000 in sewer line maintenance. And we also have money in the capital improvement collection system, the collection system improvement fund. We didn't even use 30,000 last year.
And so what you're essentially is, you're contracting per day
Yeah,
with them. And what we're gonna authorize is a maximum amount.
yes,
And you're estimating at the current rate that, to do a third of the project, but they may be able to get through it faster.
Yes.
So the amount that, you're not asking for an increase over
No.
what we're going to set as a maximum.
No.
So if it's cheaper, if we're able to maximize that, I would say absolutely that would be kind of your discretion in terms of using that and getting the most out of it. And if we can leverage getting 2/3 done for a third of the cost, that's
Yeah.
a win for
Yeah.
everybody in the city.
so I have to talk to them, but I think they're gonna be amenable to it, because they really want the work. And they're a very good company. They're probably the best in the state at doing this.
You better act quickly before they change their mind.
Mike, will this affect having it redone down the road? You want to do it once every 3 years, is that correct?
So that's the rotation that you're supposed to look at. If you go by the collection, maintenance, and operating plan that you typically see that the EPA and the DEP like, is every 3 years you do a third of, you rotate a third of
So
the system.
3 years from now, would we be looking at doing 2/3 of it?
Well, I mean,
If your proposal were to come to fruition?
yeah, no, I mean, no. So what I would, if we did 2/3 this year, we would still look at doing a third every 3 years. And if we were able to do 2/3, we would skip a year for that third. Like, if we do 2/3 this year, we do a third next year, the following year, we wouldn't do any. We would save that money.
And the following year from that?
We would start over again and try to do the third,
At
the
1/3
third,
or
the third.
2/3?
1/3.
Okay.
The 2/3 just comes in as a number that Dale came up with in case they do really quick, they go really well, everything goes well, and we're able to continue, and we actually get more than a third of the system done. But it's just, right now, we're establishing a 3-year cycle to do this, and if we get more done in a particular year, it'll save us money the next year, because we won't.
And if they're willing to do this,
Mm-hmm.
but cannot do it this year, if their schedule would not allow it, would you ask them if they would hold that price
Sure,
until next spring?
sure, absolutely. I have a pretty good relationship. I've been talking to all of these guys a lot.
Okay.
They gave an indication they'd be able to start soon.
10 days probably. And we gotta look at our schedule and everything. I definitely wanted it in the fall before winter, but after the tourist season started to slow down, to mitigate traffic problems, but, yeah. I mean, we're looking at a pretty quick turnaround.
Is that a schedule of a third, and a third, and a third? Does that pretty much make the pipes clear so that we don't run into problems?
Yeah, yeah,
So to speak.
yeah. I mean, you can never, I mean, you can, obviously, I can't say with 100% clarity that we'll never have a plug again. Because especially with the amount of wipes that people are using these days, the disinfecting wipes and things like that, and now they're ended up in the sewers, it's having detrimental effects. Not necessarily on Ellsworth, we're actually doing pretty well with it, but other cities like Portland and Biddeford and some of those cities are really suffering because our pump stations are literally plugging up from the amount of wipes that are coming in. And it is what plugged the High Street.
The flushable
Right.
wipes that
Yep.
really aren't.
Yeah,
Adult wipes.
yeah, all of them. I don't care what, I mean, you can, baby wipes, adult wipes, Lysol wipes, Clorox wipes, you name it.
You can flush it.
Okay.
Everything's a wipe these days, so.
Any further questions?
Seems like we all seem to be in agreement before he goes any deeper into this hole. that we ought to take advantage of a seemingly good price. How would we structure the motion?
I would suggest that we structure it based on the maximum, we know what the daily rate is, that we set a maximum amount and allow the decision in terms of how many days we can leverage out of that.
He has X amount in his budget that's expendable. You've got 80,000 between two.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I do.
Would,
The capital improvement plan, you guys approved 30,000 last year for the collection improvement fund that we didn't use. So capital improvement money carries over. And I think you approved 30,000 this year, so there's a potential we could have 60,000 sitting in there.
Maybe this would be an opportune time to ask our finance director how she'd like to see it, so that she makes her life easier.
Well, it depends on what we're gonna do. Are we gonna carry over from the previous years and add that in? Do we wanna just do one big total?
Whatever, you listen to her, I can't hear.
Whether or not to carry over from the previous years, which I think yes, what we allocated from the previous years, we would want to move into
that amount?
that account.
Okay. So I would have to go through and add up what's there. Last year's, this year's, and then what you have on here.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the line item budget was approved at 50,000 for sewer line collection maintenance this year on the regular O&M budget. I know last year, one of the capital improvement projects that was put in was the collection system O&M project. That was 30,000. I asked for that to be a yearly thing. I don't know if it was cut this year. Last time I knew it wasn't, but I don't know. I'd have to look at the final capital improvement that came out.
Well, Mike,
But we had 30 last year.
if you did $80,000 worth, that's almost double what you're asking for tonight, correct?
Yeah, I don't want to do $80,000 worth. Let's be clear on that. Let's be clear on that. I don't want to do $80,000 worth.
So
There's $80,000 in money available that I know of. All I'm saying is, I want to be able to maximize the amount of money we have. So if they finish in 5 days and they estimate 10 days, I want to go to them and say, okay, well, if you finish in 5 days, we'd like you to keep going for the additional 5 days to give us the bid amount that you asked for.
So you're just asking for 10 days, which is what
So-
you and I talked about.
Right,
basically.
so I would suggest that, given that what we had authorized, that 50,000, to make the motion to make that the cap. And since you know what they've given you for a bid, you know what the per day
Yeah.
cost is, and that you maximize that up to that amount.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. Request to approve the request from the wastewater superintendent to approve the proposal from Ted Berry Company for a maximum amount of $50,000, using his daily rate to be used by his wise thoughts and properly clean the lines that he needs to use this year, and from the wastewater sewer line maintenance budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please, is there no discussion? Council Blanchett.
Pardon me, personally, Mike, I really don't need to see pictures of what you find.
We'll have it in HD video.
if this comes
Don't
to
spend over 50.
a little bit over
But do
50,
it wisely, young man.
52, 55, 58, whatever, do we need to say anything in there that the city manager would have the authorization to okay
what?
that? Let's say this came to 52,000, 55,000.
He's got 50,000, tell him to keep it in his budget, and if they're down here sucking away, they'll probably do it for 50, happily leave.
And the 50 is a little bit higher than what the daily cost was for what he was originally proposing.
After what I just heard, fine.
Okay. This is why I said I was hoping there would be no more comments, but you didn't adhere to that. Motion second. All in favor?
Please.
Unanimous, and I would just say for the record that this is why you're always at the end of the agenda. If you could do better, we would move you up.
I like providing entertainment for the night. What are you talking about? Have a good night, everybody. That's my show.
Okay, where are we?
vacuum.
Item 21, Council Order Number 092008, request to approve an extension with possible amendments to the city manager search contract. This was sponsored by myself, Chair Hamilton, but I am going to turn it over to Councilor Grindle, sort of, maybe not. So this is the contract that we've initiated with Eden Peabody to lead the effort for the search process. And it's a flat fee for the services, which earlier we had a special meeting. And the services will be that they will do the posting of the advertisement, they will do the collection and distribution of the resumes, they will vet those and make recommendations to us, they will provide support to collect feedback from department heads as well as the public, they will facilitate the interview process, they will also facilitate any processes that we have where, when we get down to the final candidates, for additional public involvement. And they will also, if we desire, help with the negotiation process. So that's essentially all the elements of the contract. What I don't have in front of me is the flat rate,
The flat rate is $6,000.
$6,000. So that's the nature of this contract, and just need a motion.
Move to approve the contract.
That's what we need to do.
Second.
So you have it right there in front of you. What's the motion you've got?
Move to approve the contract with Eaton Peabody for the manager's search.
Have a
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
That was easy.
Unanimous. Item 22, Council Order Number 092009, discussion and possible action on closing public access to Delaware Stadium during school hours to provide a safe location for student mass breaks. I also sponsored this item. And Councilor Miller also had requested a discussion around this. This stems from a request we received from the city. So the school, and I don't know, I didn't hear anything. I don't know if they're using this facility, but what they wanted to be able to do was the students throughout the day to be able to stay spread out, remove their masks, and take literally mask breaks. And so they wanted to be able to do that up in the track area. But with the understanding of all the safety precautions that go into keeping schools safe, when schools in session, doors are locked, same kind of concept would be that they wouldn't have anybody else from the public in that facility while they were taking the mask breaks. So that was the request, and since the city is the technical owner of that facility, we need to give them the go-ahead. They had the go-ahead initially, and what we're here to do is just to discuss it to see if that we continue it or not.
Yeah,
Councilman Miller.
I think they've been using it, that the school's been using it, and I think it's been going well. I haven't heard anything else. I use the track a lot, and I was approached by some people that were concerned about it being closed during school hours. And I said, well, we could talk about it at the city council, and if you have things you want to say, say it. So I was hoping there'd be some comments there.
Haven't received any. And I haven't heard any feedback from.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything this week at all. This was, when it was first announced, I was running at the track one day, and I was approached by a few people.
Yeah. I've noticed that there's a lot, the track seems to be frequently used in the morning. And, being that school kids don't arrive till after 7:30, I find it hard to believe that there would be any mass breaks that would be, necessary in the first hour or two of even the school day. So I wondered if perhaps we could post hours that didn't entirely eliminate the use of the track, especially in those morning hours when a lot of folks like to get out before it's hectic and before there's a lot of folks out and about and allow that use until, say, you know, and maybe we can discuss with the school what is a practical time, but, you know, maybe 9 o'clock in the morning, so that we're not entirely shutting off it from the public use during school hours when the reality is the children aren't gonna be up there an hour into the school day, so.
Sounds
Sounds like
reasonable.
a good idea.
Doesn't he makes up for not having a report? Councilor Blanchett?
I think a lot of people use it in the morning, but it's been my experience, I walk by there a lot. And later on in the morning, especially this time of year, people that will wait until it warms up a little bit. And I'll see them out there at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you know, doing their laps. And I wouldn't be in favor of telling these folks that are out for their exercise, sorry, find a different place, you know, because the school's gonna use, the school exclusively is going to use this. I'd be very, very hesitant on closing it off. At some point, with this whole COVID thing, common sense has to take place. And I think that we're just casting that aside sometime. And if Myra and Pa Kettle want to do nothing more than walk that track, they can avoid the kids can avoid them.
Yeah, I'm not, I don't know because I haven't had direct discussions. I don't know if it's the COVID issue in terms of keeping population separated, or if it's a safety issue in terms of knowing that there isn't anybody else on the track at the time and being able to keep track of the students. I don't know. So I think that might be the larger issue, is just having an environment that's just the school personnel and the kids so that they can have a better sense of who's on the track at that time.
But it still closes the track down.
No, it does. I just wanted to point out that I don't think it's 100% COVID related of the request. So, but you're right. That's-
And this was driven by the school department asking?
Yes, the school department put in the request because they were looking for those larger spaces to be able to take those breaks. And my assumption is, I know the younger grades, I think, are using tents, and I think this is probably a little bit of the older groups going up and going up on that
Have you used during
facility.
recess, or what was their plan?
The plan was for the mask break, so in order for because when they take the breaks, the kids need to be socially distanced and in order to remove the masks. And so they were looking for a big area to be able to take a number of kids up, get them into that facility, spread them out so that they can then remove their masks and take that break. And so they asked, that was the request that came forward.
There was a very big area. They have a very large field right in front.
Yeah, so there's 2 or 3 mask breaks a day, and so you're talking from K through 8, and there's, 4 classes per grade. So there's a lot of different kids to get through, to get to do these mask breaks. And actually, the geese have taken up residency in the, in the fields. The baseball fields and I'm not sure if they're on the softball fields, but that's getting into the student sneakers, the geese poop. And so they don't really like to go out there, and they like to go up on the track instead.
Oh, you haven't lived until you stepped in it.
Just as a little background information. So the kids do appreciate going up to the track and being able to walk
So
around the track.
you just get some information?
Yeah, I got a message from the superintendent who advises that the request is to close the track from the hours of 9 AM to 2 PM.
Sounds good. So moved.
I would recommend actually till 1 PM on Fridays, because school's out by 1 PM, right? On Fridays.
I don't know if still doing early dismissal?
I don't know.
They get out at 12:30 on Fridays now.
Do they?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a motion, a second, further discussion. No further discussion? All right, so all those in favor of closing it from 9 to 2, except on Fridays early? All those opposed? Motion passes. And John, Council Moore?
Move to
This is the
adjourn.
part.
Your big moment, John.
Move to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Thanks,
All those-
overcome the
All those in
excitement.
favor? We're adjourned.